Let me introduce Claude Turmes, our MEP from the Greens, who's joined us this evening as well. Claude, anything you want to address to the panel?
I joined 20 minutes ago, so just 2 or 3 comments. So there are some myths. The first myth is lack of storage. Don't forget that the pump hydro capacity of Europe has been doubled the last 10 years. Doubled. But all those who have invested in scarcity or flexibility are losing money today because so little lack of flexibility in this very moment that you cannot even earn money from it. So we should, if we talk about lack of storage, this is really after 2028 or 30 or 32 or 35. So we had to start to discuss on it. But we have a lot of capacity of very fast coming in, be it only from hydro. The second issue is infrastructure. Can anybody me show a coal power plant in Europe which paid for its high voltage grid? And I have a map of France from the 70s, before the nuclear. High voltage cables in France existed only between Paris, the Rhone Valley and the Alps to bring the hydroelectricity to Paris. All the French high voltage grid has been built to make nuclear fly. And the French spent as much money for infrastructure for nuclear than for the nuclear reactors. And the nuclear didn't, which was the new energy at that time, didn't pay ancien franc français. So stop talking about everybody who speaks today about the high infrastructure costs with renewables are enemies of renewables because they deliberately ignore that the power system optimizer is the grid. And the grid is a service of general interest who has to be run by companies who are neutral, and they are paid by the collectivity and not by the new generators. And we want to enshrine that into the legislation because it's completely unfair that new wind has to pay in a competition with old coal and nuclear. Then on one of our hot topics, which is guarantees of origin. So I think first you have to understand guarantees of origin as they exist today is largely greenwash. And I compared a bit with Catholic Church. You have done a lot of sins, so you are a Stadtwerk with a lot of coal. You go to the priest, and instead of doing 2 or 3 Ave Maria, not Ave Maria, this Rosenkranz thing, you pay you pay 0 point something, and then you are getting a guarantee of origin, which is old existing hydro from Norway, Austria, and a bit of Sweden. That is not helping us a iota. And now we have a problem that there is in the, and I very much like the Re100 initiative because you are helping us to drive the show, but you have companies like, I don't know if somebody from Siemens is here. Siemens has 2025 being at 100% renewables only with these greenwash GOOs. And then you have Google, who has 100% renewables with almost everything, I think, is new additional renewables. So now we get into a problem that how do you, in your corporate social responsibility reporting, how do you make a difference between the virtuous and those who are just, in a certain sense, doing greenwash? And I think as legislators, we have to do 2 or 3 things. The first thing is power purchase agreements will now start to fly. It's the single most important issue is FDP in Germany. So understand that the French have talks with Merkel on the carbon floor price. So if we get to a carbon floor price, and FDP, which seems to be the digital champion, so there should be some possibilities to lobby them by your kind of people, FDP has to understand that a carbon floor price is finally making a market function which doesn't function, which is the ETS market. If we get to a carbon floor price, then large-scale offshore wind will be almost at flying without support. not completely. We still and then we get into a situation where long-term power purchase agreements fly, and then we need to keep the guarantees of origin, exactly as you were claiming, to keep them with the one who buys the PPA. And Commission's idea to auction this is not a good idea. And in Parliament, we will probably try to delete this completely. And then the second thing which we are trying to do is to organize a pathway from greenwash guarantees of origin to something which makes sense, which could be something like a guarantee of origin plus, or something which I have proposed, which is a fund where you pay into goods. That is, but because there may be some smaller actors who are too small to gather together into a PPA. So, and for them, the guarantee of origin outside a guarantee of origin attached to a PPA could still make maybe a bit of sense. So that's a bit what I think
thank you,
we are going to. I stop it there. Yeah, thank you.
You can reply. Who would like to reply? Sim.
Just one point on the guarantee of origin. I think it's, to be honest, legislation-backed eco-label. Nothing more, nothing less. So we have different eco-labels for different products, and we have this nice green logo that we see everywhere, and it's depending on us whether we trust that label or not. For example, I might buy a jam in Carrefour with that green label, but I might prefer maybe Claude goes to the forest, picks some berries, makes Claude's jam out of these berries.
I don't have time for that. So I go to the organic food store.
But just an example. So I know I buy my jam only from Claude because his jam is the perfect one. But
it's not a good example because even at Carrefour, they give you something which is new and additional, and not as with guarantees of origin where you are just surfing on old existing, and that's the difference.
Is it
so
subprime?
I think it's not a good example.
Is this kind of like a subprime market? Is that what we risk having, where you end up with new commodity products, new derivatives created, which are just bundled, and you've no idea what you're buying in the end?
It's really, I think these concepts are not excluding one another. So I'm really interested in Claude's proposals in the Geo Plus. I don't see a reason why we cannot incorporate that in, and yeah,
okay,
why not?
And there already is a the gold standard guarantees. Gold standard RECs have just been released, and that does have so a guarantee of origin does tell you where it's from. So if somebody's buying Norwegian hydro, then REC from Norwegian hydro, then that's it. That's what it says on the tin. If you're buying it from a new solar farm in Ireland, that's what it says on the tin. So it is transparent, and you can see what people are buying. Now, in terms of whether it's greenwash or not, we consider that, if Greenpeace were to run a campaign against anybody, we would suggest they do it against the people who aren't doing anything at all in the renewable space, rather than looking at the pioneers and going who's better than whom. It's a very new market, and there will be a lot of innovation. Two trends that we're seeing in our data is, one, an increasing move to power purchase agreements because companies are seeing renewables as a business decision rather than their Hail Marys to going to confession and getting repentance. I think the second trend that we're seeing is a move toward is a recognition of these different types of RECs. So, as you say, some organisations are too small. If you've got a small office in Dublin, you can't afford to have a 10-year PPA with a giant wind farm. RECs, guarantees of origin, are extremely important there. And so things like the gold standard, the Geo Plus standards that are coming out, these are commercial. Obviously it's a voluntary market, but these products are happening, and they're being snapped up. So I think that change is happening, and there will be a market recognition.
Thank you, Sam. I know Megan is under pressure for time. Right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be at the Parliament, actually.
They won't mind. You
we
can stay here.
take turns. Of course they'll mind. So I just think that one last word is on, and I'm sorry to be repeating this over and over again, but I think that the digital environment and the energy sector go really hand in hand. And the e-energy declaration that was made in Tallinn that Sim mentioned, I think is really something that gives an idea of where we can all go together. It's a multi-stakeholder effort. It's something that everyone can participate in, and it really takes everyone together to make this work properly. So it's very nice that we had Estonia with its E-Estonia, and I told them E has to stand for energy now.
I'm sure it'll apply that.
So this is a nice opportunity to be here to bring this all together, and so I encourage all of you to work even harder to make sure that it works.